remember to turn on all notifications so you don't miss a video. I'm tired of battle shonen women getting disrespected left and right, so I'm starting a series called The Shonen Female Defense Force, where I defend our women. Yumesuke Stashika the feminist has arrived. Hashtag protect shonen women. There will be a lot of response videos to all this slander. None of these are hit pieces. I just want to stop the spread of a false narrative by debunking the videos perpetuating it. I will often reference my first video titled, Shonen didn't fail its female characters, you did. The first video I'm responding to is how Naruto failed its female characters by Sage's reign. If you can't tell, this is actually the video that sparked my decision to make my first video, but I didn't address his points directly because I wanted to tackle the broader problem, but here I will. Someone in the comments of my female's video, Hello94, actually responded countering his points with ease, so I may or may not reference him. Onto the video. So he starts with a quote from someone named Yukari Fujimoto and tries to use her as an appeal to authority. I don't know who she is, but judging by the fact that there are barely any hard rules to writing and any writer can write gold or garbage, appealing to authority is a weak decision. The quote basically says that Naruto is problematic because it suggests that men and women, quote, differ naturally in regard to aptitude and vocation, end quote. This is factually true though. Men are better at certain things and women are better at other things. Turn on the Olympics and compare the men's performances to the women's. I've heard that women take part in social work and charity more, but I'm not going to say anything too solid on women's advantages because I'm not actually well researched on that, and I won't speak on what I don't know. Meanwhile, men's superior physicality is blatantly obvious. Using this woman's book, he shows that Naruto had a much lower female readership compared to contemporaries like One Piece. They argue that this is because of the poor treatment of women in Naruto. This is a poor assumption that I've dealt with a lot in my responses. People will look at stats and try to derive specific meaning from it to support their arguments. Maybe my eyes aren't working right, but the visuals he puts on screen are not helping his argument. In under 12, Naruto's male gap is bigger, same goes for 13 to 18. In 19 to 29, Naruto's female gap is smaller. So far, it would support his argument if this was a fact. But in 30 to 49 and over 50, Naruto has a higher female gap, but this is not acknowledged. Additionally, in this visual, he's comparing one volume of Naruto to one volume of One Piece. I don't know if the book compares more, but using such a small sample size cannot lead you to specific results if you're arguing in good faith. Sage says, quote, the women were always one step behind compared to the men, end quote. Time to bring out my tier pyramid. If you watched my first video, you know about top/high tier, mid tier, and low tier characters in terms of power. The females in Naruto are mostly mid tier. If you compare them to their male contemporaries, they are either equal or stronger most of the time. Sakura is better than Kakashi and Sai. Hinata is equal to or better than Kiba and Shino. Tsuande is equal to or better than the other 4 Kages and is equal to the Sannin. Tayuya is equal to her Sound 4 teammates, or better. Temari is better than Kankuro and slightly below Gaara. Tenten and Ino are the only solid examples of females being below their contemporaries. Sage once again cites the professor with, quote, fighting men and healing women, end quote. This author clearly didn't do enough research, and it's sad that Sage is relying so heavily on her. How many main women can canonically heal in Naruto? There's Sakura, Ino, Tsunade, Rin, Chiyo, Shizune, and Karin. You want to know who can't heal? Hinata, Kurenai, Tenten, Temari, Kin, Tayuya, Mei, Karui, Kurotsuchi, Anko. Okay, so not all women heal. And guess what? Nearly all of the women that heal also fight. That's Sakura, Tsunade, Chiyo, and Shizune. Ino fought a little, and Rin and Karin were never shown fighting to my memory. So men fight women heal is a lie. He also says all healers are women. Kabuto and C are males that can heal, so that's wrong. But even if he was right, why is having women heal a bad thing? It contributes to a stereotype, but not in a negative way. As he said himself, quote, healers are tremendously important in any setting, end quote. So why is Sage sitting here belittling healing by complaining only girls do it? If it's such an important role, which it is, there should be no problem. I believe Sage and Fujimoto unconsciously look at healing as inferior to fighting, which is wrong because healing is tremendously important. It keeps the combatants alive. He talks about females being behind men in combat skills, but I already shut that down. Quote, women are seldomly conveyed carrying much weight in battle, end quote. That's true, but you know what else is true? Female characters seldomly appear in Naruto. I covered this in my original video, but if women make up under 25% of the cast, wouldn't it statistically make sense for them to make up less than 25% of the battles? Sage is intentionally ignoring obvious data to make his points. Fujimoto complains about Kunoichi not being able to overwhelm Shinobi through pure skill. That's a lie. Tsunade beat Naruto when they first fought. Temari and Toyuya had the skills to overwhelm Shikamaru. Chiyo and Sakura overwhelmed Sasori. What are we talking about? This is what no research looks like. He tries to use people hating Sakura as proof, but A, there could be several reasons other than her sex. B, Hinata is loved by the fans, so your gender argument is nullified. Next, he argues that all female characters' motivations and existences are tied to male characters. Hello 94 killed this, but I'm gonna try and do my own thing. Naruto is heavily tied to Sasuke in motivation in part 2, arguably more so than Sakura. I can almost guarantee that he thought about and mentioned Sasuke more than Sakura did. Sasuke has always been heavily tied to Itachi in motivation and existence. He was more obsessed with Itachi than Sakura was with him. Obito was heavily tied to Rin, a female, to the point where people say that he started a war just because of her. Madara is tied to Hashirama, Orochimaru is tied to Sasuke, Haku and Zabuza are tied together, Temari and Kankuro are tied to Gaara, B and A are tied together. Need I go on? My point is that several characters are tied to other characters, including the two mainest characters. Sage is trying to make this a problem by arguing that females are always tied to males and not the other way around. Once again, I present the gender ratio. If every character is tied to another character and females make up less than 25% of the population, how often do you think they'll be tied to males? A lot. He says Sakura has no agency. That's so subjective based on perspective. I could easily argue that her choosing to become strong and choosing not to be a burden is agency. He complains about her having no goals or dreams not tied to Sasuke. So what? I'd like to know exactly why having a dream tied to a specific character is a bad thing. Didn't Sasuke have the same thing for all of the story? Even after he killed Itachi, he went to get revenge on Danzo for what he put Itachi through. Then at the end, he wants to become like Itachi, which is what he calls a true Hokage. Once again, Sage puts down the importance of healing and raises up beating up villains. He thinks Konohamaru beating a Pain is superior to Sakura saving countless lives from Pain's assault. Sure, it's cooler, but is it superior? That's debatable. Then he uses his friend's feelings to back up his argument. That doesn't mean anything. You have to present an actual argument, not just your feelings and the amount of people that feel that way. I could ask my friends what they think of Sakura and they'd say positive things. Would that be a valid argument? No. He says Sakura isn't interesting without explaining why. I think she's interesting and explained why in my video Sakura is a good character. He says the audience was never given a reason to connect with her, end quote. A, connection to a character isn't necessary for the quality. And B, yes they were. She was an everyman, a regular person without special abilities who was fighting and training to earn her stripes. If you didn't feel anything when she fought Team Dozu, that's a you problem. He says, quote, physical strength does not equal a good character, end quote. I agree, but neither does the amount of fights you win, which has been an argument Sage has been pushing. I'm guessing he didn't realize this contradiction. Fujimoto was pushing it too. He says to defend her, people have to point out feats. That's not true. Trigger Senpai was listing off character moments on a stream without having watched my video where I listed the same moments. In his Hinata section, he complains about Hinata being tied to Naruto. He says, quote, she exists to please Naruto, end quote. That's such a lie. Wasn't Naruto the one giving her courage when she was fighting Neji? She then tried to save Naruto from pain. During the war, she gave Naruto the courage to stand up after Neji died, mirroring the exams. Where in these scenes is she pleasing Naruto? Watch how he twists this next scene. When referencing Neji's death, he says, quote, she's put on the front lines and Neji dies for her, reassuring her weakness. The women always need to be saved, end quote. But if you actually read or watch the scene, Naruto's about to be hit, then Hinata jumps in the way to protect him, then Neji jumps in the way to protect her. So why does Sage completely ignore the fact that a man was about to be saved by a woman? Because it would hurt his argument. He says Hinata doesn't do much, but neither does her entire team, which also has two male characters, but let's conveniently ignore that. He's disappointed that Hinata never had strength from herself, and says, quote, what would she be without Naruto, end quote. That's interesting because earlier he credited Lee as a good character. What would Lee be without Guy? He complimented Konohamaru for killing a Pain. Where would he be without Naruto? Uh-oh. Looks like this isn't restricted to females, huh? Either way, a character gaining strength from another is not a bad thing. If he thinks so, I'd like to hear why. He thinks she's boring, but if you're going to make a persuasive essay, you need to bring more than just your feelings. Sage argues that Naruto is telling women that they need to please men and be protected by men. Well, with all of these counter arguments I've been listing, that would be a blatant lie. Now he says Tsunade's dreams weren't her own, but of protecting the dreams of Naruto and others. I already did the whole ties thing. He says Temari was independent, as he wants female characters to be, but then adds that she was, quote, sorely underused, end quote. Of course he can't give any wins without an asterisk. He brings up Kushina wanting to become Hokage, but then becoming a housewife. Once again, he's putting down the role of a housewife in favor of a Hokage or a ninja. I've heard this before, but I think he's one of those people that only validate females when they are doing the exact same thing as men. How is sacrificing your dream to be president, to take care of your kids, not a respectable thing? In fact, Boruto is always criticizing his father for being absent as the Hokage, but he loves his mom. This story shows the fate of a Hokage and his relationship with his kids, making Kushina's sacrifice even more commendable. I'm not defending Rin. Karin was one of Sasuke's accessories, as he says, but so were 2 other men. Why doesn't he mention it? Because it would hurt his argument. I'm not defending Anko, but other characters from the Chunin exams, like Ibuki and Genma, were also left behind like her. He says, quote, we can all name the distinguished personalities and motivations of the male characters, end quote. I can do the same for all the females. If you can't, that's a you problem. The fact that he listed Shikamaru, who had no motivation, is amusing. He says the list of characters were rarely tied to a woman, so I was right. Basically he's saying that if women are tied to men, how come men aren't tied to women? In a story with over 75% males and where nearly every character is tied to another, he wants women to either be independent or for men to be tied to women as much. Crazy. Quote, if you can't offer love or healing to the men, what is your value? End quote. Let's start with healing. Why is he trying to frame healing like men versus women? The women are healing everyone, not just men. Sakura healed Hinata on screen. Additionally, most of these healers also fight, so there's value right there. As for love, I don't know why he has such a twisted view of romance. Sakura and Hinata's purpose is not just to love their crushes. Hinata provides inspiration, support, and courage, while Sakura provides faith in Sasuke's goodness. And guess what? Naruto, a male, provided the same kind of faith in Sasuke, but of course his value isn't reduced to love because he's a male and that would hurt his argument. In a story with over 75% men, he complains about the men being the strongest and smartest. You do the math. He brings up Kaguya, who's stronger than all of the men, but to downplay this counter-argument, he says she was an underwhelming antagonist. I don't care what you think about her. She serves as a counter-example to your point. You can't avoid that. And then at the end, he says Naruto and Sasuke would have made better romantic partners. I'm not tackling this because A, it's not related to my argument, and B, this is just embarrassing fanfiction. This just makes it sound like he's mad that Sakura and Hinata stole Naruto and Sasuke away from each other. I don't know whether to laugh or to sigh at this. It's like he has no sense of boundaries between familial/platonic love and romantic love. With this logic of whoever's closest to you should be your romantic partner, Shikamaru and Choji should have ended up together. Better yet, Hinata and Neji, or Lee and Guy, or Gaara and Temari. Yeah, it's getting weird now, isn't it? That's what happens when no boundaries exist. In conclusion, Sage bases a lot of his arguments on Fujimoto's book, but Fujimoto didn't do her research, and neither did Sage. If you don't like Naruto's females, that's fine, but once you start bringing evidence and making arguments, you need to do your research, otherwise people can counter your statements like I just did. I actually used to be sub to him, but the lack of research and abundance of bad faith arguments in this video made me unsub. You might be thinking, why should anyone listen to you? Well, I assume that all of these people that I will be responding to are not attempting to deceive their audience. But that's exactly what they're doing when they're not doing enough research and are making up things without evidence. They're also spreading a false narrative, which I don't think is their goal, which is why I'm trying to get them to realize what they're doing. Shonen Female Defense Force out. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.